Hello. This is a little bit like a previous one, but the length, depth, and replay value for those of us whose gameplay does not center completely on magic finding. Like we prefer killing bigger and better in bloodier ways.
So, if I understand, is the question, are we going to have magic find?
No. It's the length and depth of the game and the zones, because my biggest complaint with Diablo 2 is it loses its replay value after a point.
Okay, so just, are you talking about like what's the length of a normal playthrough, or how we're going to handle replayability?
Handle replayability.
Okay. So one of the keys for replayability is, I mean, there's a lot of things that Diablo 2 did to be replayable, and we do a lot of those things as well. Randomized environments, randomized monster locations, random bosses, random items. We also add in random events, which is something that is new to the series. And that all works great for a while. One of the biggest issues that Diablo 2 had was the path of least resistance to the best items was a very repetitive path. It was usually whatever boss run was most expedient at the time, with whatever class was the best class to use for that. I'm sure you all know the Sorceress, Magic Find, Pindle and Mephisto runs that pretty much dominated, if not still dominate, a lot of D2 item finding. Those are a source, there's a lot of assorted problems there, and we intend to fix all of them. If we include Magic Find, we're not going to let Magic Find drive your item space, and certainly not your class choice. Part of the reason that it did was that there are certain classes that items weren't as valuable for, like the Sorceress. The Wizard now really values items, because items is where she gets a lot of her damage from through spell damage abilities, which was not really something that existed heavily in D2. On top of that, the next job that we have is to really make sure that we have a lot of content. There should be a really compelling reason to redo a lot of it, because when you're spread throughout a lot of content constantly, it lasts a lot longer. So the best example I can give of this is the quest system in World of Warcraft. It's really great because it gets you to move around. It gets you to do things that you wouldn't normally do. In previous MMOs, you just grind one monster forever until your eyes bled. And players will play that way if that's the fastest way to progress. Our job as designers is to make sure that the fastest way to progress is also the most fun way. So we are working on systems that are going to accomplish that. You can clap, it's okay.
Hi, I'm actually a really big fan of the story and lore for Diablo World, and I've read all of the books, and I love Richard Knack's series. And obviously, the Necromancer is probably the most fleshed out faction in the Diablo world. And it sounds like from previous panels that I've listened to, we're not probably going to get the Necromancer class again, which is fine, but are we going to still see the faction? Because obviously this is a big thing happening in the world, and they usually show up for big events.
So, are you saying you'd like to see Zale possibly in the game?
Oh, just a little bit.
Maybe. Yeah, just because you're not going to see a certain class as a playable character in the game, we want to make the world feel like it's a living world. So our story is evolving all the time, and the areas you're going to, we're refining them and putting in different quests and events, but we're looking at all that stuff. So I can't give you a definitive answer, half because I don't want to spoil the surprise, and half because I don't know yet what exactly is going to go in or isn't. But that's our intent, is to put a lot of that kind of stuff in. And there is a Necromancer in the demo right now, as Michael has pointed out.
Hi. My question was pertaining to Diablo 2 patch 1.13. I was wondering if you were adding any content that would help us further transition into Diablo 3.
I was asked this question earlier, and I think the best answer is, unfortunately, we can't really talk about it because I don't want to, we're not, the Diablo 3 team is not actually the team that does the Diablo 2 patches. They consult with us and we make recommendations, but it's a different internal team that does it, and I don't want to speak for them. So unfortunately, I can't speak to any of that. Sorry.
I know everybody's thinking this, but where's the Hammerden, and what role is it going to play? Like generally in the Diablo 3 world, is there going to be a paladin presented, or like the clan of paladins, or like is there going to be a paladin in D3?
As a playable class or as lore?
Lore.
Leonard? Michael?
It's kind of the same answer as I gave the last lore question. We'd like to show you what has happened to not only the classes, but making the characters that you possibly played in previous games actual characters in the world. So I wouldn't discount the possibility that you run into somebody like a paladin who is the person who ran through D2 or something along those lines.
I'm gonna add to that because I like to throw out stuff like this every now and then. We do have some plans for those guys. They're long-term plans, but stuff's gonna happen. That's all I'm gonna say.
You're such a tease.
Where's Chris Metzen? Anyway, I was wondering, I'm a big fan of hardcore, and it's pretty much all I ever do, and that's the only option I always use in Diablo. I was wondering if you could, if you were adding any additional features that hardcore players alone would have.
We do want hardcore. Only way to play, right? Yeah, all right. We definitely want to do hardcore again. In terms of additional features, we don't have anything specific planned right now, but we're open to ideas. So, hit the forums and throw some stuff out there, and tell us what you want to see.
I want to see the hardcore naked mode like those guys just did.
Did you guys hear about that? I guess, was it in Germany? In Germany, there were these 8 guys. They played through all of the entire game up through Hell difficulty, completely naked, no items at all, and with no town support. So they couldn't go back to town, they couldn't get any quests unless they needed them for forward progression. And they got through all of Hell difficulty doing that, and ended up around levels high 80s, so pretty crazy.
Couldn't be more excited. So in D2, we really saw Tyrael emerge not only as an enigmatic main character, but also as a renegade angel. Can you tell us anything about how the high heavens feel about his actions, or really what kind of role the heavenly host is going to play in D3?
We're not going to reveal any details about that, but I can say we do address a lot of the issues that you're talking about. I can extrapolate that the high heavens aren't very pleased with his actions. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say any more.
Sure. Hi. I noticed that you guys have an entire web page just devoted to the geography of Diablo 3, and it seems like you are placing much more of an emphasis on geography than maybe even Warcraft 3 did, definitely more than Diablo 2 did, and I'm wondering if you have something more to elaborate on that with. Is there, a purpose to this? Does it serve something later on, perhaps?